The world is shrinking. I mean, it's not shrinking physically, of course, but it's certainly becoming smaller. And one of the things that educators and you as students, I think one of our primary responsibilities is to be better engaged and aware of what this global village is all about. Of course, one way to do this is, of course, to travel. It's a great quote by Mark Twain, and you can read it there, but what I really like about this quote is this second sentence, that broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all of one's lifetime. My life changed. In 1976, my family lived not too far from here, a few valleys just to the east of here, Sevier County. You may know of the little towns, Monroe. I lived in a town called Central, about 100, 150 people at the time. I don't ever really remember being outside of Utah except for the occasional Disneyland trip. But when we were 11 years old, my parents moved us from Sevier County, Utah, to Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. In the summer of 1976, we landed in July. It was 122 degrees in a landscape that looked a lot like pictures I had seen from Mars. This was a defining, formative experience for me. And over the course of 4 years, I was changed. This picture on your left, this group of people, is my family. My mother is the one that's blonde. It's part of my family. It's also some friends. But, of course, we didn't have to dress like this, but it was 4 years in which, when I came back from that experience, I found myself migrating and gravitating to those things, Middle Eastern and Arabic and Islamic. And at college, I found myself, many of you, probably many of you have, is by your junior year, trying to figure out all of the accumulated credits and whether you can put something together for a degree. And I was able to do that, but only because I had randomly taken some courses that actually connected with Middle Eastern history. But but I wanted to share some personal experiences with you as to how my life changed with certain experiences that I've had in different parts of the world. My first job out of college was in Cairo, Egypt. And I worked at the American University in Cairo. And I remember early on in that experience, I got into a cab with a taxi driver, and in my very poor Arabic, started a conversation. The cab driver couldn't quite pinpoint where my accent was, and he said, "Where are you from?" And this gave me a chance to say, "I'm from the United States." And I asked him, "Have you ever been to the United States?" He said, "Oh, no. I would never go to the United States." And I said, "Well, why wouldn't you go to the United States?" And he said, "Well, first off, everybody in the United States owns a gun. Second of all, everybody takes drugs. It's not a good combination." It gave me a chance to explain to him that while there are elements of that may be true, it's not defining. It doesn't define my experience as an American. The irony of that story is that a few days before going to Egypt, my American friends said, "Where are you going?" Asked me where I was going, and I said, "I'm going to Egypt." And they said, "Well, I would never go there." And I said, "Well, why wouldn't you go there?" I said, "Well, it's violent. I'm an American. They'd hunt me down like a dog." And it gave me a chance for my American friends to understand that that doesn't define my experience, having lived in that part of the world and having many friends there. What it illustrated to me, though, is that we often see each other through the lens of media or movies, and that lens often is distortion and doesn't really represent reality. And so if we are to sort of understand this small global village that we are in, and understand that the world is interconnected, borders, national borders are becoming less significant and more porous when it comes to disease, when it comes to the environment. We know how connected, interconnected we are with the economy and with technology and with politics. My second job out of college was in Kuwait. I got a job 6 months after the first Gulf War ended. My responsibilities were working in government relations, in trying to help Kuwait rebuild its economy and rebuild the destruction of the first Gulf War. What you see here then are images of what I saw every day. This satellite photo is a photo of one oil field that was lit on fire from the Iraqi army as they fled north. Over 700 oil fires were going at that time. And to be able to be a part of this effort to get the Kuwaiti oil industry back on its feet was extraordinary. But what it illustrated to me is that in a very small part of the world, in a seemingly insignificant country, in a landscape that is God-forsaken in some cases, it had world impact. Not only at that time in 1991 did the economy sort of suffer because of oil production interruption, but also environmentally. If you were to stand downwind from that smoke, which I did often or drove often and happened to be downwind, I would have to drive with my lights on, even though it might be noon. Just before coming to Cedar City, my family and I lived in a city called Abu Dhabi, which is the capital of the United Arab Emirates. I would happen to be the great privilege of leading a women's college of 3,000 Emirati women who had to achieve a certain score in their high school and with English scores in order to be admitted, and if they were admitted, they were fully scholarshiped. The only thing that the students had to pay for was their laptop. And part of the reason is that, all of us, if we don't have some sort of skin in the game, right, we're going to lose our laptops or, not take it, might not be as responsible as we might. But I had this little Bedouin father come into me one day, and his daughter, Fatima, was just entering into the college, and he couldn't afford to buy the laptop. And as we kind of assessed the situation, he had 11 children, and he had a fairly sizable flock, but not enough of discretionary income to be able to handle and support his daughter. Well, we set Fatima up, we got her the machine, we got her all wired. And he was so over the top, excited and grateful that he pulled me aside and he said, "I have to give you a gift." I said, no, this is what we do. It's happy, we're happy. We want Fatima to be successful. He goes, no, I insist. I want to give you a goat. As I thought about that, what an elegant response, right? This juxtaposition between high technology and modernity with tradition, that he was thanking us in the highest form he knew how of giving us a part of his flock. Having lived, though, in that part of the world, the United Arab Emirates is only about 40 years old. And it's a society that has, in a hyperspeed of development. It's a culture that continues to hold on by its fingernails, its culture and its language and its heritage, as the world continues, as they embrace change, but again, trying to also not lose the foundation of their heritage. It's also a country, though, that is quite progressive. And one of the great quotes of Emirati leadership was Sheikh Maktoum, who is the Sheikh of Dubai. And he said this, and again, remember that the UAE is a Gulf country, it's oil rich, it's got lots of natural gas and oil, but it only has about 125 years left of that resource. And one of their leaders said this. He said, "My father rode a camel. I drive a car. My son flies an airplane. His son will fly a rocket, but his son will ride a camel." His point is, of course, we only have so many years to get it right economically, and if we squander those opportunities, we could be setting back, in his words, setting the country back if we aren't smart. That taught me a lot about our own lives. We have one life. We only have so many years to get it right. And I want to end with this quote from Maya Angelou: "Perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all peoples cry, laugh, eat, worry, and die, it can introduce the idea that if we try and understand each other, we may even become friends." So let me leave you with this, that in this very small little global village, may we have broader vision and more embracing hearts, and to make more friends, because really, this is all we've got. And in fact, I think our world depends on it. Thank you.